I know we all want to think that getting the garden in and all of that is like all glorious and wonderful and beautiful and all the things. That is it is. It is all those things. However, there is so much more that goes on, and that is what this entire speed through is all about. This is what I have to do before our next video to where I'm actually getting to plant things. So I have to move the compost over and rotate it, add more chicken poop, add more greens, all the fun things that you do to get your compost done and ready. And I even had to go out and dump some more this morning, which is still sitting out there. So I do have to rotate it again. And then I just have to find places for the rest of it. I'm hoping to make that big pile of grass, which is actually dirt with weeds on top of it, into a compost pile. One of the things I cannot stand about this area of my yard are this line of weeds. For some reason, I missed this section when I did the weed fabric. I don't know why, but it was killing me and it had to go. But this also led to the violet propagation video, and this is where I figured out that I could propagate these, which I would like to give you an update is working gloriously. So a lot of those will end up going around the pond. This took hours, just hours of back breaking work to get this area to remotely look like I gave two craps and I am not just white trash. And this, I think this is Johnson grass. This is like the bane of most people's existence. Like, this stuff just won't go away. And I could barely get it out of the ground. I struggled so hard with this. It is insane. But I do love my shovel. One day I will remember to look and see what type of shovel that is. But it's square, it's super sharp, it has places for your feet, and I don't know if it catches it in the speed through fully. But I am not a huge person, so I actually have to stand on the shovels and get them to go into the ground. So to even get them remotely doing what they're supposed to do, I am like hopping on the shovel and trying not to die, is basically what I'm doing. I do get a lot of this cleaned up, and we find a couple of odd things, like I have been finding every time I do any type of cleanup anywhere in our yard. I find some weird things. So I found in this area where I'm getting to right now, I was having a really hard time getting the shovel past things. And I'm like, well, this is not normal. Like, yeah, it would take some jumping or whatever, but that shouldn't be this hard. So I'm finally getting the shovel down far enough, and I hear a clink. And I end up pulling out three 6 foot long pieces of rebar. I don't know where it came from. I don't know why it was so far in the ground and sideways. Not really what you're supposed to be doing with rebar unless you lay concrete. So I'm not sure what that was doing there. But it was there and we had to deal with it. More freaking Johnson grass. So this is, I believe, where I hit the rebar and I'm like, what in the bloody world is going on? At this point, I'm already beyond exhausted. I'm like, dude, how much more is there? But I am determined to get this to do what I need it to do. And see, there's more rebar. Two of them right there. There will be a third somewhere, and I can't remember when I hit it. I think I may be finding it right now. Yep, that's me trying to get to the third bar. I did just stand them up next to the greenhouse behind it. I'll figure out what to do with them later. There's probably something I can do with them. That will be helpful. Oh, we're catching me where I actually have to just sit and swing on the shovel to try to get this to work and get around everything. And then we get to pull it all up by hand. So we don't have any really big equipment. We either have to rent it or call a neighbor. Honestly, all my neighbors, except for our excavation guy, are probably in their 80s. And I feel really, really bad calling on them to help me out because they're in their 80s. I should be the one going over there and helping them when they need help, not the other way around. However, we're coming back and we're using what we've got on hand. So I am taking the extra roofing shingles that I have from doing the flooring in the greenhouse, and I am placing that down because eventually when it rains, that will get super freaking heavy and hold everything in place and just really help the weeds not to poke through anything. So I'm using as much as I can, and then I am grabbing any extra pieces of what is it called? Weed fabric that I have just laying around because I've cut weird shapes out of all of this stuff and I don't want any of it to go to waste because it's not cheap. And in videos coming up, you're going to hear me just how much I really hate weed fabric. But it is necessary when you are wanting things that are covered in gravel. And especially in an area like this, I need something to keep the weeds out of my way so that I can get to everything else. So I'm going to continue to move this down and get it staked in as best I can. And then I will move the pea gravel over it just to hold it down because later we will be hauling a ton of pea gravel. And no, I don't have a tractor yet again. It's just me doing my thing. Again, a different type of weed fabric because I needed to use up what I had already cut up. So that's what we're doing. As much as the wind was keeping the bugs away, it was not my friend while doing all of this stuff with the weed fabric. It kept going everywhere. And now we get to shovel a whole bunch of pea gravel. I overfilled this bucket, y'all. Like I kept checking, be like, oh yeah, I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. Yeah, I should have had some help because that did not go super simply. And it took me about 10 minutes to huff it from the barn over to this area by the greenhouse. And I'm not sure if I had to do that twice. I think I just maneuvered the gravel from the rest of the area to where I needed it because I was like, nope, we're not. I didn't want to do that again. I may have. I can honestly not remember. I think the trauma from this day is still in my head, and I'm like, no. Ooh, see, I did raked it out from underneath the greenhouse because I was not about to go and move a whole nother thing of freaking gravel. I could only do so much. My back could only handle so much, which is why I'm on the ground moving everything with the spiders and the frogs and the turtles, and it was super fun. Right, I'm getting this evened out to the same line, so I'm just pulling in as much of the excess gravel as I can, then going, yep, I'm good there. And time to take out some of these weeds. What I do leave are onions. They're just wild onions that we pick a little bit of every spring. So I am leaving those there just so that they continue to grow and I can continue to get chives because they're yummy. I dig up some for my mom and then I forget about them. It's a thing. Scare the critical out of the chickens because I weed whacked all their area. I did weed whack this down just so I could get back here and comfortably work and do what I needed to do. I'm not sure if there was a video where I brought in all of these logs, and it was just old firewood that we haven't used. And I just wanted to make some sort of border for over here so that we could see that distinction, figuring out that's a root and not a log. And now I have to go hunt down a log that will fit precisely in that spot, which I eventually find and bring back and then toss down. And then we get to fix this weed fabric because the wind is insane I mean, we got up to 80-mile-per-hour winds for a couple of days, and it just wreaked havoc on absolutely everything. I am taking my mini saw and cutting out some of the root. I tried to do that again yesterday, but I think my mini saw is dead, so I have to charge it, which is sad. I'm going to keep stretching that fabric because the last thing I want is any of this poison ivy and weirdness to come back, and getting it just prepped to plant the next day. The plan was to plant it the same day. I think by this point, I was like so far gone. There was no way I was going to be able to get all of that planted. And then you can see my husband going back and weed whacking things and trying to get the back cleaned up while I do this portion. I know these aren't my normal types of videos, and thank y'all so much for sticking around. That this is probably a shorter one that's a little weird, but it is in preparation for the next video that's coming out. And I will see you in that video on Thursday, y'all. Thank you, and I hope you have a blessed and magical week, y'all. Bye.